world is changing fast. New technologies are impacting how we think about products, services, and the way we live our lives. Nowhere is this trend more present than in financial services, where new business models and customer expectations are changing our conceptions about banking, finance, and the very nature of money. Welcome to Rebank, a visionary podcast about banking, fintech, and the future. The future of banking is here. Hello and welcome to Rebank. I'm your host, Will Beeson. Today we're thrilled to be joined by Nick Ogden. Nick is the founder and CEO of ClearBank, the UK's first new clearing bank in more than 250 years. ClearBank offers banking infrastructure, including clearing, to incumbent and startup financial services companies and fintechs. Built on real-time technology, ClearBank aims to support increased transparency and competition in the UK banking market. Prior to starting ClearBank, Nick founded, ran, and sold WorldPay, a global leader in payment processing. As always, connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or on our website at bankingthefuture.com. If you like today's show, please subscribe on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice and leave us a review. Thank you very much for joining us today. Please welcome Nick Ogden. Nick, welcome to Rebank.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm fascinated by your journey and look forward to getting into all of it. Both WorldPay and ClearBank are infrastructure plays. What is it about existing banking infrastructure that led you to start innovating in the space?
Oh God, where should we? I'll start in WorldPay, shall I? All right, because that's probably easier, and then it will link through to where we are with ClearBank. Back in 1994, we had set up the internet in the Channel Islands. And we were probably qualified as the worst ISP in the world. Our customer service was useless. All of our customers would warrant that still today. Many of them are still bearing the bruises. But the other part of the business that we had allowed us to link through and do Barclays transaction processing for them in the Channel Islands. So we're their effectively terminal acquirer. And so we had this daft idea that actually that was quite interesting. Rather than deal with customer service, which we probably should have been doing, why don't we build a shop? So we built an online shop called the Wine Warehouse, which we linked through to Barclays systems, and we're doing real-time auths and everything else on it. They had no idea what we're doing. We're using that advanced technology that everybody remembers well, X25, and that's what we did. So we built a online shop using the relationship we have with Barclays. That led us through to in 1995 building with them Barclays Square, which was the world's first bank-endorsed e-commerce shopping mall. Very shortly after we'd launched Barclays Square, and we were selling some really good stuff, stunning online sales shops. I remember the Argos shop, because we had all big brands, because Barclays could do that. The Argos shop had a weightlifting kit in for about £700. So I think trying to sell that online today would still be a bit of a challenge. But in 1995, it was a real challenge But we got emails coming in from people in different parts of the world, because the internet is stateless, as we all now understand. In 1995, we were making it up as we go, probably. And the questions were coming, can you tell us how much the weightlifting kit costs? So my natural assumption was that the website had broken, the pricing file was corrupt and not being displayed properly. So after kicking the web designer, I realized that wasn't what they were asking. What they were saying was, can you explain to me in my money what £700 is? And I suddenly realized that there was this jump between the virtual world and the real world, because if we got on a ferry to go to France in 1995, you'd change currency into francs, you'd know what the rough value for your cup of coffee was, and you could make a value for judgment decision based upon the pricing that you saw. Within the internet, because it was stateless, it was impossible to do that. You just were presented with an alternative currency. In 1995, 96, Oanda wasn't around. You couldn't go and do a quick currency rate and all the rest of it. Most people didn't have a copy of the paper with the currency rates in, or wouldn't have bothered. And so e-commerce was going to falter. So I went to Barclays and said, do you have a multi-currency payment processing engine, the thing that slips off the end of your tongue when you ask for it? And they said, no, of course not. We're a bank, Nick. And we were also working with NatWest. We were running NatWest.com at the same time. And I asked NatWest if they had one, and they did. And that led to the creation of WorldPay. And WorldPay was the payment processing side of WorldPay was the bit that everybody recognizes and uses today and still exists today. But the secret sauce was recognizing that we had to present pricing in a way that people understood and could make a value for judgment decision. And if you like, that was my destiny to become a plumber. That's what WorldPay was.
So it was literally at the beginning an internet company, an e-commerce company.
That's all it was.
You're kind of pulling on the thread. You eventually found yourselves in payment processing.
Off and away.
Yeah.
And so we went through, we built WorldPay, grew that company very successfully, became the first company in the world to guarantee internet payments and all the rest of it. And then, a few years later, along comes the ClearBank opportunity. And so there are many parallels between what we've done in ClearBank and what we achieved within WorldPay. I guess part of the advantage is second times round, you make less mistakes, never make no mistakes, but you make less mistakes. And I think the opportunity that presented itself to us within ClearBank was within WorldPay, we had to go through a bank to get access to the Visa MasterCard payment network. So we had no control of our business. Within ClearBank, we have absolute control of our business and the ability to deliver clear and concise SLAs to our customers. But the reality is we are still, a plumber in some shape or form, insofar as we provide access through to the payment rails. We process transactions through that, but as a principal this time round, not as an intermediary.
Wholesale banking and payments are generally the realm of large incumbent banks and network providers. There's often an assumption that incumbent providers will continue to dominate as a result of existing network effects. How does one go about disrupting an industry characterized by strong network effects?
I think you start by not trying to disrupt it, but by trying to create a revolution, because there's a distinct difference. Revolution, you sort of gather the support of the market. Disruption, everybody's just expecting you're going to do something tinkering on the edges with prices, which we are not doing. When I started back in 2014, started on the ClearBank journey, I was very, very clear that we had to have complete responsibility for our own activities, be completely standalone from the existing banks who provide services today. And it wasn't because I was fearful of them, it wasn't because I was concerned about competition, it was because I wanted to have the responsibility of service delivery to our customers and be able to offer that to them with a degree of guarantee and certainty. So our journey, I think, within ClearBank has been somewhat interesting, to say the least. We don't see ourselves as a competitor. The existing banks who provide agency banking services probably inherited that as a result of correspondent banking. As electronic technology came along, as payment systems emerged, they had to use it for themselves. They offered it to their correspondents. Their correspondents became agency banks and all the rest of it. The technology that they have at their core hasn't kept pace. And I'm not knocking them. Everybody knows they've had a lot of challenges, because from 1960, when there were 16 UK clearing banks, to the 27th of February when there were 4, there's now 5. The market consolidated, and it consolidated against a natural market force. So nobody was doing anything clever. It was just the way markets always go. And then along came the internet, which completely changed the service dynamic. So as opposed to having a branch network and things that go in the post and all of the friction that you introduce into a normal business banking or banking process, those friction points started to be eroded by the accessibility that the internet provides, but also by the choice and capability and service offerings that technologists have been able to build around the internet. So it's been very, very transformational. That, I think, when you then take that position and look at an incumbent bank, is opposite to what an incumbent bank is. An incumbent bank has created services as a consequence, but I don't believe any of them went and started to design agency banking. I think many of them today would wish to lose that. I described it before as, it's a flea on the bum of an elephant. It's an irritant. It's not a massive revenue stream for them. And they're capable of doing exactly the same stuff today to those customers with us anyway. We just do the plumbing stuff. We do the payment processing capabilities and all the rest of it. If we have a FI or a 2MD or a small building society who wants liquidity support or whatever from a bank, one of the main banks, they should go and get it. We're not going to stand in their way. In fact, we'll encourage them to do that. And from the bank's point of view, being able to focus on their core strengths, I think, is a benefit for the whole ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. I understand that core to your technology, and I suppose core to most instances of modern technology, is real-time processing, which a lot of the traditional banks don't currently offer as a result of what you described in terms of the development of their technology over the years. So it sounds like you can very much do that piece better than incumbents. Are there implications for that around risk management and your ability to support businesses, financial services companies as an agency bank over the longer term? Because I think to your point around agency banking perhaps being a bit of an irritant to incumbents, in a small amount of recent experience I've had, the incumbents aren't necessarily knocking each other down in search of new agency banking customers. I think often they're actually not that interested in taking on new customers. And I'm sure there are many reasons for that. One that jumps out to me is potentially the risk management element of it. Is that a part of it?
I think it's a whole raft of issues. I think that we've met with everybody. I mean, the response, we've been out of the block 15 weeks tomorrow. We've had hundreds of businesses, regulated businesses only, contact us and talk to us, including the main banks. And they haven't come at us to say, Nick, you're a complete idiot. Why are you doing this? Go away and stop it. It's been interesting what we're doing and the approach we've taken. We had a white sheet of paper, we had no pre-existing technology, and we didn't have any customers. And anybody who's listening to this who's a startup, please remember that. You have a finite time in your business life before you engage with a customer. Do what you can to get your show sorted first before you start engaging, because with the moment you engage with a customer, the train's left the station, you're on a journey somewhere. Anyway, I digress and go back. I think that the technology, the core technology the banks have, is not joined up in relation to how all of these systems should be joined up. If you look at the way the international payments network works, I find it stunning that we are today, 2017, prepared to accept that payments get lost, payments get delayed, and we have no idea if we make an international payment when it will arrive. And if it doesn't arrive, we're told to wait. And that's a standard response which we accept. That's just nuts. And I think that, if we were to say, look, we'll let the existing banks sort that out, yeah, they'll get to it in time. It's not at the top of their priority list. So I think the approach to changing the way that tasks and jobs are done, agency banking is one of those, and then focusing on it and trying to do it properly, means that we lift the bar up a bit in relation to the existing incumbents. And what that's designed to do is to encourage them to say, actually, somebody else can do this better and they're not coming to eat our lunch, which we're not. And if we are allowed to help as many businesses as we can, which I believe that we will be able to do, because of the non-predatory position that we do not have consumer customers. We support the market. The impact of change and competition that you could create within the UK markets and potentially elsewhere is significant. And again, I don't see that encroaching on the main banks to a large degree, because people enjoy local services and all the rest of it. And I see a whole raft of niche services being developed, which historically you couldn't get at as a result of the change that's being effected.
You made the analogy to plumbing previously, which I think is one that people hear often. Usually when I think about the plumbing analogy, it's around building and maintaining pipes. But I think in the WorldPay case, and to an extent in the ClearBank case, it's about connecting pipes with third parties. I'd be interested to understand a bit better, I guess, what that process has been like with ClearBank, and almost this point around collaboration versus potential competition. You mentioned you're not encroaching on people's territory, but you certainly with WorldPay, you needed the support of incumbents to enable you to do what you were doing. You were also helping them in certain ways, and it sounds like with ClearBank there's similarities.
I think I think it's a couple of points there. We are completely standalone. Right? We have no reliance on anybody. Our bank is the Bank of England. We are principal operational members of the main payment schemes in the UK, CHAPS, BACS, faster payments, on our own right. That allows us to connect to all the other members of those schemes and the organisations that they support underneath it directly. We had to do that. Without that, we didn't have a business. And where we are today in ClearBank's life is we're focused very, very much on UK sterling settlement. That is a £82 trillion a year market, so that's quite valuable. The impact of Brexit means that many foreign banks are looking to make sure that they are covered in relation to a UK clearing partner, so we see some positives coming out of that. And I think we sit in a position where the market is I think open and available to us to deliver on those services. Going back to the WorldPay point, it was somewhat different because we sat underneath RBS, initially NatWest, and so we were in agency bank land. There you don't control your destiny, and that puts a significant degree of risk on your ability to continue to grow and drive your business forward. The learnings from that experience we've taken forward into ClearBank to make sure that as we onboard and take on our customers, it doesn't mean we'll take everybody on, because we're not. You've got to be fit and proper, I think is the correct and politically correct way of saying it today. We want to be able to give undertakings to them that are meaningful to us and valuable to them.
Potentially leading question here. How important is technology to what you're doing at ClearBank?
Very. Without it, we wouldn't be here. We've been working, as you know, with Microsoft in the US, directly with the guys in Redmond for a number of years. We have a very strong relationship with them. That started from wanting to put all of ClearBank into the cloud. Not all of it, we couldn't. We knew we wouldn't get the UK payments data centers in because of their connection to the UK core infrastructure. But we were very, very concerned about cybersecurity. And if you have going back to the analogy of the white piece of paper, the start over, no customers position, we didn't have any customers, so we could actually think about what our customers would be concerned about. And so top of the list is cybersecurity. Well, our friends in Redmond spend $6 billion a year, more than anybody else on this planet, on Azure and cybersecurity. So given the assurances and the customer base they're growing in there, one would hope they've got that as well covered as most people can. We then dropped down and started looking at financial crime and started looking at the impact of that and how extended messaging format allows us to send more data on a payment transaction, which might sound really boring to anybody listening to this. It's really, really important because it's the lack of data that moves on the payment flows that creates the delays and lost payments and all the rest of it. So that needs to be addressed. So in putting all of that together and building out a vast technology platform, in this building we've got 100 people sitting on the floor above here working for ClearBank, has been the priority. And for the first 3.5 or 3 years of our life, we were 90% technologists, and me.
In addition to the kind of pure clearing piece, you guys also have basically a core banking engine that you're able to put at the disposal of financial services customers of yours. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let me I'll come to that in just 1 second. I'll just explain sort of how customers come to us because it's quite important. It links back to it. We're a bank. It's taken me a little while to get used to saying that. I've always in my life said we're a business, but this time around we're a bank. And so when customers come to us, they engage with us by opening a current account because they want banking services from us, sterling settlement, inbound or outbound. We give them access then to 2 pieces of technology. One's an ISO 222 API, which allows them to connect to any legacy platform they've got. Every connection to the ClearBank core on API is via that single API interface. So if somebody wants a special, the answer is unfortunately no, we can't do that because we have to maintain standardization right the way across the platform to give the service levels to all the customers that we're very keen of maintaining now and for the future. We also developed a white label core banking platform. Many reasons for that. The first reason is that in the UK today, there are 400 regulated businesses who could offer current accounts to their customers and make their customers financially inclusive. That doesn't mean they're going to, and they might have good reasons not to, but historically, if they'd wanted to offer current account services, they were looking at probably a 2-year plus build and develop cycle, huge cost, 15-20 million pounds potentially, complex agency bank relationship, challenges on pricing in relation to the services that they consumed over that relationship, so it was very, very complicated. My goal in ClearBank was to be in a position to enable to organisations who wanted to offer current account services and effectively become financially inclusive with their customer base, And an example of that is the 39 building societies in the UK with 3 million customers. Those building societies provide a mortgage, the largest financial transactions most of those customers will do, yet they don't provide a current account, so they're not financially inclusive. So if the customer requires additional services or there's some financial interaction, there's more work to do rather than having instant visibility on your customer's financial life. So we were quite keen to put together that white label platform that we've developed and to have a target of being able to get that up and running in about 8 weeks, which is what we're targeting. So effectively sort code enabled, all connected to all the payment rails, away with a interlinked debit card product. Go and get financially inclusive. That was it. And we think that product, in fact we know now that product does not just have interest in the UK market, but the wider market as well.
What's the time frame for your guys' full launch?
Well, it's funny really. You've been in business yourself. You know what it's like. You have these great. We do a business plan. Our regulatory submission was 2,500 pages. Our regulatory burden. I love saying this is 14 kilograms, which is the weight of one of those submissions. It was huge. We wanted to keep ClearBank quiet until about June of this year. That was the plan. And then, unfortunately, a keen journalist noticed us on the MPC minutes, I think, last December. So we were outed, if that's the right thing to say. And so when we announced in February, we announced really just what we were planning to do, which was to carry on with 3 pilot customers that we had engaged with during the course of last year. Finish off all of the testing work, the final testing work with BACS, CHAPS, faster payments, because it's vitally important. No bank had ever put those 3 schemes together concurrently. No bank had ever linked those into a integrated real-time liquidity management system, which is what we've got within ClearBank, and move forward to more general onboarding in the autumn. Well, we completed all of the CHAPS, BACS and faster payment work, and you may have seen press releases going out from those various schemes confirming that's all done on time, on plan. We've added to the numbers of customers that we started to say that we're going to onboard from the 28th of February. We are continuing to look to add to those customer numbers to deal with the hundreds of inquiries that we've had. Again, we're not promising anybody that they're going to be online on 30th of September or 30th of October, whenever it is, because we'll put them online progressively as we ramp up slowly and test our platform, which is vitally important for them and us. And so it's far better, whilst it might be really frustrating, and trust me, I've been up in our sales room, I know it's frustrating for both our potential customers and ourselves to say, look, we've got to do it this way around. It is the right way of doing it. And so we'll probably just continue that process through, and that's us done. So we don't probably need to do a launch announcement, because I think for reasons best known to you guys, we are known in the marketplace a little bit already.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you mentioned 100 employees at the moment, 3.5 years to get to where you are. How have you guys funded the business so far, and what's the plan going forward?
We're fine on funding. We have 2 individuals who are key investors in the company. We've got the team is also significantly involved in the business to the tune of 30%, and we are just moving forward slowly. Somebody asked me, how many private equity people do we have queuing up outside the Gherkin every day? Well, we've had a few, and it's very nice to see them, but we don't need to do that, nor do we have plans, despite sort of some speculation, I think, right at the beginning of all of this, that we're going to IPO. We have no plans for that. We just got to get on and deliver the job and the opportunity that we've got in the UK, which is effectively, full and easy access to the payment systems for the wider market.
What are the biggest challenges ClearBank needs to overcome in order to succeed?
I think we've done some of them now. I mean, creating the first new clearing bank for 250 years was interesting. People always said, why didn't I write a book about WorldPay and all the other bits and bobs? And I've said, yeah, I'll get round to that. But the reality is, I probably never would have done this one. I might. We had some really interesting, challenging moments putting this together. Nobody had ever thought of what the impact of creating a new ClearBank would be on the existing processes within the regulators. We didn't know what the processes were because there isn't a book. And the guy who was responsible for this 250 years ago and it was last done, unfortunately, didn't leave a user manual. And there is not a dummies guide at Heathrow which says this is the dummies guide to setting up a clearing bank. So it's all been very, very challenging, but we've had huge support from regulators. They've been brilliant. Everybody involved in the project has been brilliant. There have been the oh ha ha moments of, okay, we just need to think about that. But it's been a thought of trying to find a solution, not a thought of trying to come up with a no. Our big challenge going forward is the same that every business, whatever size or scale or type or industry faces, and that's dealing effectively and efficiently with our customers. So we're no different. We might have the word bank above our door and we can polish it and everywhere, with brasso in the morning if we choose to. Reality is we've got to be really valuable to our customers to make the business successful.
You kind of made reference to this in passing earlier, but are there any specific learnings from the WorldPay experience that you expect to be relevant as you guys launch and scale ClearBank? Any mistakes you made the first time around that you think you can avoid making this time?
Yeah, I think so. I think but I think it's also a combination with the market getting older and me getting older. These things always tend to run in parallel. You tend to ignore your own age and just assume the market's changed. But the reality is, I think both happen. I think that in WorldPay, we could not have done what we've done with ClearBank within the WorldPay era. It was just it was regulatorily, market-wise, it would have been no, all the way down the street. Whether that was right or wrong, I don't know, but it's that is what it would have been. Many businesses today who are involved in providing financial services, not the main banks, but the 2MD organisations and whatever, still sit within that land, which is challenging. I know for them. We talk to them. So I knew and was crystal clear with the Bank of England that unless we could be completely standalone, I was walking from this project. And it wasn't for fear, wasn't for anything else. It was the reality that without that, it just wouldn't work. We'd fail. So I think that was a key learning from first time round. Some of the other things that we brought in here that we learned from the WorldPay days is that we launched a graduate program. In December of last year, we had 1,000 graduates apply to join the bank with no name, which was interesting. And that builds from the call center experiences and whatever that we created within WorldPay. We've had some interesting learnings in ClearBank as well. Listen, just because you've done it once doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes second time round. You do, they're just different. And you've got two ways you can deal with them. You can either jump up and down, kick someone, or just say, actually, that's what's happened, learn by it and move on and try not to do it again. So we've had some interesting moments, and but we got there, and as you can see, we're in reasonably nice offices, nice view of London, and on we go.
Well, it's beautiful up here. Can you describe a specific example use case or two for ClearBank? How might you support a regulated financial services company or alternatively a fintech?
It's dead easy. It should be anyway. And if it's not dead easy and anybody tries it and it's not dead easy, they must shout and scream and speak to me, because I will listen, I will talk to them. You go online, you open a bank account with us. All right, the moment you can't, there's an application form to go through, because we're just in slow mode. And forgive us for that, but trust me, that's where we're staying until we decide to turn the gas on. So that's the equivalent of opening a bank account. Once you've gone through the KYC, AML processes and all of that good stuff that we have to do here, and we approve you, it's as I said earlier, ISO 222 interface or the core banking platform, or both if you choose. Because if you're a large bank, you may decide that actually my legacy systems are completely knocked out. My problem with changing my legacy is the time of migration. But if I can work with a bank, all right, that's going to allow me a long migration period and it's going to financially penalize me, which is what we do, then that makes it an interesting opportunity. So that's all you have to do, and we provide you support in relation to those activities. You have to be funded. We're not lending you money, so you've got to have your own liquidity. You've got to make sure that your client funds are appropriately, correctly safeguarded, which you have to do anyway, otherwise you these days go to jail. It's that straightforward, and hopefully always will be.
Will companies, institutions that are using your white label core banking system be leveraging your banking authorizations as well, or will they need to bring their own?
A bit of combination. I know there's a number of different models bouncing around at the moment in relation to sort of bank sponsorship, I think it's being referred to. At the moment, we are under the PSD1 regs, which we're running on at the moment. We are allowing organisations that are regulated to run up and use core banking. Within a 2EMD, right, that stops in relation to payment services they can do. They can't do deposit taking. If they're a credit union, they're full good to go. They can do both. If they're a small bank or building society, clearly they're full good to go. We're not going to provide back down white label deposit taking services or loan service or anything like that. So it's very clear where our lines of demarcation are.
Before we go, I'd like to ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Oh dear, carry on.
What are you most excited about in fintech and why?
I'm excited by the fact that everybody's slowly starting to embrace the cloud. The cloud's definitely coming together. You know, we sit here, let's assume that, you know, I'm in London today, so are you. We're sat in the centre of London. Let's assume you're not from London, you're from New Zealand. You phone me up and you say, actually, Nick, this is really cool. I want to get involved with ClearBank. I'm a bank. Can I start using your platform and testing it out? The answer to that is yes. 30 minutes time, you'll be on our platform in New Zealand using it. You can't do that without cloud.
Do you expect foreign institutions to be ClearBank customers in the short term?
I know they will be.
Yeah. So they'll have access to Sterling settlement. Is SWIFT a part of your connectivity at any point?
Yeah, we're full SWIFT, and so have been for a while. We also had the guys from Ripple in. And,
interesting.
It was until they got to the pricing. And if they're listening to this, they need to sharpen their pencils.
What advice would you have for someone considering starting a fintech company?
I think that this is going to sound really bizarre. I mean, I've just been dead lucky, and it's not, you know, dead lucky with some perhaps some cunning ideas, but also really with the team that you get together to help you with this stuff. You know, you can't do it on your own, and people think you can, and you do, but the reality is you don't. You are only as good as the people that you have, and your business is only as good as the people that you have and the money that you have in the bank. If either of those two go, you're dead in the water. So I think that, you know, the best idea or the best opportunity, I think, in fintech is the one you believe in. If you're not passionate about this and you can't see it working for yourself, you know, think of another one. It doesn't matter if you fail. And, you know, I talk at a number of different conferences, you know, businesses fail. You know, you have to kiss a hell of a lot of frogs to find a princess, trust me. Right, and so if it does fail, don't take it as, you know, you've completely destroyed your life. You haven't. You should stand up and be proud. Your, you know, colleagues and friends should pat you on the back, go and have a beer, start over, and do it again.
Love it. Speaking of that, if you could do it all again, what would you do differently? You can interpret that question however you like.
I was going to say that it's funny actually. One of the things that I've really enjoyed in all the business I've been involved in is, you know, getting on with the media like this. And a few years ago, I did a show with Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek. There was a US thing called The Next Wave, which is their equivalent of Tomorrow's World. And that was a really, really funny experience. I've quite enjoyed that. And then shortly thereafter, I got collared by Reunio, the Italian TV company, at an event in Italy. And they said, well, can we do an interview? So I said, yeah, that's fine, of course you can. And they said, okay, fine. Here's the microphone. Interview yourself, because we haven't got anybody here. The journalist isn't here. And then we'll just translate it and sort it out later on. And so I did that, spoke for about a minute about what we were doing at the time, which was, you know, relatively boring. At the end said, and this is Nick Ogden for the news at 10. And I never know whether they did that bit as well. So you have, you know, things like that. You have to have fun in life.
What resources would you recommend to people looking to learn more or get ahead in fintech?
I think that's, it depends where they want to go, I think that the regulators now, the FCA's got a very interesting project with the sandbox, very, very interesting. I think that a lot of the professional accountancy firms are coming up with the same things. I know banks are as well. but I'm just a little bit concerned about IPR leakage, because you're talking with people who are interested in what you're doing, but their interests may well not be aligned with your commercial drivers. I'm not having a go at anybody, I'm not slanging it, it's just facts of life. Sometimes you have to say it as it is, and that is one that does worry me a bit. There are many centres in London, level 39, you've got the tech hubs and all the rest of it, more coming up. There's one announced last week, I can't remember what it is, but it's getting a group together to sort of collaborate, get involved in them. We set up ClearBank in Tech Hub in Ropemaker Street. We were in the basement. Nobody had a clue what we were doing. We were hiding down there, and we had to move out before they all found out we were a bank.
Nick, what's the best way for people to find out more about your work and connect with you directly?
Okay, website is dead easy. It's just clear.bank. Nothing else, that's it, simple. The irony behind that is that the .bank GLT domain is a secure system that's been put together, which is designed to reduce phishing attacks and all of those good things, all of those things that we worry about, financial crime, cybercrime that I mentioned earlier. And I think we've now got to about 3,800 banks only around the world who have managed to actually sign up to get their .bank domain. So if you're talking to a bank, give them a kick for me, tell them to get the .bank domain, it makes life safer for you. And I can be got hold of on LinkedIn, or just email me at nick.ogden@clear.bank.
All right. Nick Ogden, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning into Rebank. If you like today's show, reach out. Follow us on Twitter at Rebank Podcast and join the conversation. For more on banking, fintech, and the future, check out our regular content at www.bankingthefuture.com.